What you just saw was the beginning of a town area and the start of the game. It's early work, but it's really starting to come together. Did you notice the dialogue system enhancements? How about the town music in the background? Got quite a few things to look at today, but first of all, I just want to say thanks for the view spike and support on the last video. Let's start with the town and the direction the story seems to be developing. What you can see here is a rough layout of the town. The town consists of the player's house, a shop, a museum, a construction company, and an ancient cave. There's still a lot that's not final in here, so don't expect to see the same grass texture you see everywhere in Hoist when it's done. If we go into the purpose of each area, the ancient cave will be for bringing some kind of collectible after defeating a boss. When all collectibles are collected and placed on the pedestals, it will open some way of getting to the final boss area, perhaps an elevator. Moving across we have the shop. Now I think I did have a plan for this at some point, but I've completely forgotten what that was. I might use it as a place to pick up side quests if I want smaller stories to happen within the different areas in Hoist. Next up is the player's house. I think this is mostly going to be for a cutscene at the beginning of the game and might not have much point to revisiting it currently. The museum is a solution to not having enough collectibles in the game. My plan is that in some chests you can discover artifacts, and these artifacts will be unused concept art, levels, music, and anything that's not in the core game. Moving on we have the UND building. UND stands for Underground Construction Company. This building may just exist to help flesh out the world of Hoist, which leads us on nicely too. Finally got around to improving the dialogue system. It's still not finished, although we do now have a few more options available to us. These options are text effects, save data imports, and learning how to use tags in Text Mesh Pro. Now I'll go a little bit into how it works, and I'll add chapters so you can skip ahead. First of all, the cool wave effect. I looked through a lot of videos and there was a lot of questionable code. It wasn't until I came across a video by Campbell Software, which is linked in the description. It shows you how to make the wave effects and theoretically make more effects. It works by getting the mesh of each text character and using a script to move the mesh's positions over time. You can also do things like change the colour of the meshes and more. This only got me so far towards my implementation because I wanted to be able to set certain words to have this effect. So my theory was because we need a character of each mesh we were on, I could apply it to only those characters. To identify the text I only wanted to apply the effect to, I decided to use regex. I thought regex would be my best bet, and I could identify the text I wanted to apply the effect to by using tags. I created the regex to detect the text between a wave start and wave end tag to test. This would allow me to get that text. I would then be able to strip out the tags once I've applied the effect. During this phase, I discovered that there was something similar, which had tags for Text Mesh Pro. Fortunately, my time hadn't been wasted, it didn't make my progress obsolete, and it allowed me to extend my formatting even further. You can see you can already define things like colour, font, and size for certain parts of the text, which I had no idea about. I found this really useful list of tags you can use, which I'll link below. First of all, I realised I need to do more than just find the effective words, as there could be multiple of the same word where I want to apply different effects. So I'd have to find the start index of the words and the end index to make sure I applied it to the correct words only. Sounds simple enough, but we had an issue. Those indexes change. Let's say when we have the text that says hello, it has colour red, and then Tom. I want to know where Tom is. The problem is that with the string, the start index would be 20 and the end index would be 22. But when Text Mesh Pro applies its own formatting, it strips out the colour tag, and it also won't strip out my wave effect tags. This would cause the index to either be out of the text array bounds or affect the wrong characters. I ended up storing the original text with all the tags, rendering the text to remove the Text Mesh Pro formatting, as this then returns the text that's actually being displayed. I stored that, and for each text I identify in the wave tags, I find the word and its index, replace the tags with nothing, and offset the index by the amount of characters that the tag was occupying. Now we have the actual character positions where the text will render. Eventually I've processed the entire string, and I can set it to be the text for Text Mesh Pro, and I've applied my text effects. So glad that's the last thing I needed to do with modifying text at runtime. And then I went back on this decision, and I decided to make it so that you can pull save data out by using square brackets. Before all that fancy text rendering is done, I remove everything in square brackets and replace it with the save data text that was passed in. This text corresponds to properties on my save data. A simple example is to think of a string that says hello savedata.playerName. Now I'm too lazy to manually map savedata.playerName to the actual string's location, so we're going to use some magic, and by magic I mean reflection. Essentially, on the savedata class I'm going to check whether that object has a field called playerName, and if it does, return the value. What happens if I need to request an object within an object? Well, we're going to add a for each that looks for each property, which is separated by a full stop. When we get a property back successfully, we then get its type and we look for the next property until we have the final property. We can then finally return its value. Basically, I can do this. Okay, cool. So this is basically still dialogue, but I thought I'd catch anyone out that skipped the technical detail. I've also added message bubbles for actual characters. Sorry, billboards. These messages are blue when you haven't read them, and they turn dark grey when you have. There's also now a funky outline when you walk past something you can interact with, and this is thanks to a shader that I got from a tutorial from CodeMonkey. I don't know how to make music, so I watched one video in music theory, one about some software called LMMS, and this was incredibly useful and made my music go from poor to poor but with some variety. Both videos were great help and are also linked below. The gist of what I got was in order to improve slappability, you need a bass line for your rhythm that people can follow. Then with your main instruments you set a scale to use such as C major, so the nice sounding notes are highlighted in grey. Then you slap in some chords, add some notes higher up for harmony, slap down some bass below, and then you're done. The forest theme, which will probably be unused, was my first attempt. Then I created this theme, which I love, but I'm not sure when I'm going to use it. I'm thinking maybe the title screen or the credits, and it adds more instruments over time, and it's my favourite. I'll play that for you now and chapter it so you can skip. Finally, I created the town music, which is a super short track, so I'll just play it transitioning instruments when you go into the ancient cave area. I just want to thank Nocturnal Wisp for providing me with a free copy of their scriptable object organizer. This is a Unity asset that allows me to easily filter down and find my scriptable object types, and I can quickly create and edit them. There's also a link to their channel and asset in the description. So yeah, that's basically what I've been doing. Hopefully this was enough for a devlog, as I've had a week-long holiday in the middle of it. If you like quicker updates, I occasionally post what I'm working on in the Discord server and on my Instagram, which you can follow here. If you made it this far, please consider liking and subscribing.